Am I the idiot for not giving my brother half of the house and business? By male 38. Parents died when I was 23 and my little brother, Adam, 27 male, was 12. He inherited my parents' money in an account with me as pay until he turned 18. But he asked me to manage the account for him after that. It paid for his needs until he graduated and got a job in 2016, and it sat until 2020. I inherited the house, the family business, and massive debt. I planned to sell the business and house and move him to live with me. But Adam had a massive meltdown, and the therapist I sent him to insisted he needed to be close to friends. Even though we had no other family there and my entire life was in another country. Against my better judgment, I moved 4,800 kilometers back home. I quit my old job and broke my lease, tried to maintain a long-distance relationship with my GF at the time. Juggling my parents' business and trying to pay for a house with most of the mortgage left all by myself. I started dating Emily, now 34, when Adam was 16, and when he moved for college, he gave Emily his blessing to move in with me. We got married when Adam was 21 and we are expecting our first child. Emily helps me run the business, which barely survived 2020, the house is paid off, and I'm starting to turn a small profit again. In 2020, Adam lost his job, and I gave him the rest of his money in his account to support himself, and he asked me to handle the bills. Every month I'd send him some food money and let him know his updated balance. He doesn't have enough to pay for the remainder of his lease, October, and I warned him in January that Emily and I can't afford to support him. I gave him two options, get a job and pay his rent, and I'd pay his food bill, or move home and live with us for free while working for the family business. He lost it, saying that it was my fault for sacrificing my life for the business and the house, and that he shouldn't have to give up his life, since I was supposed to take care of him. I told him I gave up my entire life for him, and I struggled to keep the house and the business alive because he wanted me to. So I don't have cash to spare to support him because I have employees and a baby on the way. He insisted I sell the house and business and give him his half, and I reminded him that those were my part of the inheritance, not his, that I paid most of the mortgage, and I kept the business alive, and I didn't want to give up everything I worked. Our grandparents are the only living relatives we have. They live in a territory overseas and refused to take Adam or help us because my parents didn't leave them anything. So I was stunned when I received an angry phone call from my grandma calling me a greedy bastard and telling me I should be taking care of my little brother. I reminded her that he's 27 and needs to get a job and take care of himself, and I let her know I offered him both a home and a job with me, and he said no. Comments before the update. Not the idiot. If grandma is that concerned that her grown-ass grandson needs to be taken care of, she's free to take him in and finance his life. You've done your part and now it's time for him to grow up and do his. You're the idiot for enabling him this long. I got an inheritance too when I was young. I spent it on student loans and a mortgage so that I could support myself. I can't stand people that weaponize their incompetence, or the fools that enable them. If you let this man move in with you, you will ruin your growing family. It's time to make room for your actual child. Update. A few days after my post was judged, I sat down and had a video call with Adam. I told him that by the time I was his age, I had been raising him for 4 years already, and I had willingly supported him through the global pandemonium. But now the job market was the workers' market, and it was time to get a job again. He laughed and asked if I was serious, and I told him I was, that I was removing myself as a payee on his account, period. Because he had been an adult for almost 10 years, and it was time for him to act like one. I said I did my duty and then raised him, but I have an actual baby coming that I need to raise. I handed off all financial responsibility to him and wished him the best. He tried to backtrack and accept a position and home here with me, and I told him the offer no longer stood because I couldn't trust him to be a good houseguest to my wife and eventually my baby. Nor could I trust him to not pull the "my brother owns this business" card that a few pointed out, too. I told him he needed to stand on his own 2 feet, not for me, but for himself. That he needed to learn to be independent. There was yelling and crying after that, but when I hung up, I was dead certain it would be the last time I ever heard from my brother again. I heard from my grandparents during that time, but I told them point blank that unless they were offering to financially support a 27-year-old man, that I was done having any conversations with them regarding Adam and his inability to be responsible for himself. To my surprise, he called me today to tell me he just got hired for a new job that he starts in 2 weeks, broke his lease and moved to a smaller, more affordable apartment, and met his new neighbors, a brother and sister who helped move in his boxes and unpack his kitchen. They already have invited him to their next game night with their friends. He's still a little sore that I wouldn't let him be part of our parents' legacy, but he realizes he wouldn't have a new job and new friends if I hadn't kicked him into gear, and that with the way he acted. He didn't deserve it anyway. Not the idiot. You're the man. I obviously hope my son doesn't have to go through what you did, but if he did, I hope he would handle it like this. Family first always, even though you had to be firm in the end. From this end it sounds like your judgment was sound. Good luck to you both with these new and exciting chapters of your life. Do you think the outcome is unfair? Let me know in the comments. Am I the idiot for not telling my parents when my surgery is? Hi, male 23, I'm having surgery soon. I am a trans man, meaning I was born female. I am finally getting my breasts removed. I called my mom today to talk to her about a job I applied for but did not get that far. She asked me about my surgery. I had already decided I did not want additional stress leading up to or right after my surgery. Those who know when the date would be people that need to know. I told her this. She responded with, "Oh, it's not like I am family or anything." Then she hung up. My mom has a habit of telling everyone everything. Recently she expressed greatest disapproval in me being trans and revealed she does not accept me as male. By recently I mean last week. I have been out for over a year. Along with that, one of my roommates told me the other roommate has expressed their own distaste for my choices. Being trans is not a choice. It is who I am. Both these events have stressed me out and it has taken me a bit to settle my nerves since. My therapist agreed I should keep the number of people who know low as I have GAD that can often cause issues for me and those around me. This was also today and it was my final appointment with this therapist as she is moving on to other things. I thought I was doing what was right for me and my health, but now I am not sure. Am I the idiot for not telling my mom my surgery date? Comments before the update. Not the idiot. It's completely your choice on whom to tell what, especially in regards to decisions about your own body. Your mom might be offended, but that doesn't mean you're the one in the wrong here. She shouldn't expect to be able to run you down about your gender and then be included in the list of people who know big milestones. Not the idiot. You don't need people like her around for something like this. Honestly, I wouldn't even talk to her except possibly to try to educate her until she apologizes. Honestly, I'd be worried she'd start something at the hospital. Update. Since my last post, a lot has happened. One person had commented about hoping my mom was not an emergency contact still. She is not, however she knows all my personal information. I called my doctor's office and set up a password for phone calls. I do not believe she ever called before I changed it. I will eventually have a friend become my power of attorney for medical stuff. This, however, could not be done before my surgery. I spoke with my mom often before my surgery. In the beginning after my post she was upset and trying to ask about the date. And that usually looked something like this: when is the "oh right, you don't want me to know." Things got better over time until the surgery happened. We even went shopping together and she helped me find some clothes and shoes. On my surgery day, my roommate called to let her know that I was in pre-opus. She was angry and did not want to hear any of it. I called her after my surgery and she was still angry and did not want to hear it. I know she cares though. On the shopping trip she asked for a call after my surgery so she knows I am okay. If I hadn't and she had instead seen a Facebook post about it, I'm not sure she would have been so forgiving, if you can call it that. As for anything else that did not really fit into those two main points, my surgery went well. Though my left side may be a bit off, it still feels better than how my chest used to feel. I had 2 major anxiety attacks 2 days before my surgery, but I was okay, mostly the day of. A lot of my strength in that month leading up to the surgery was thanks to my Reddit mom. A Reddit user offered to be my temporary mom. I am very glad I took her up on that offer. And of course, if not for all those who commented on my first post, I probably would have told mom the surgery date. Oh my goodness, I am wonderful at procrastination. I finished typing this update on September 12th. Today is September 16th. I spoke with my mom on the phone again. We briefly talked about family and upcoming plans, ideas. My mom at one point very easily said, "You are my son." It is the first time I have ever heard her use this sentence. I am so happy that she finally hit that point, even if my dad is not there yet. This was a huge step and I am very happy that I get to share that milestone with you all. Many deemed her as transphobic, but it is really just her not quite understanding because of her age, 73. That is all I have for you all now, and I hope this was the update no one asked for but people needed. Not the idiot. Thank you for telling us how it turned out. I'm glad the surgery went well and that things are improving with your mom. As for the transphobic thing, I think you're probably right. It sounds like she's making an effort. As long as that effort continues, it seems fair and right to be understanding of the fact that this can be a difficult adjustment for a parent, especially at that age. It sounds like you're making some real progress. I wish you all the happiness in the world. This is honestly so amazing, and Opus, I, a random stranger, am extremely proud of you. Good going. I know how hard it is to get parents to understand you when they're this old, but I'm so happy for you, man. Good for you. Should he have told them where the surgery was? Let me know in the comments. Am I the idiot for not wanting my girlfriend to decorate my apartment? I, male 29, have been with my girlfriend, female 24, for 2 years now. We have not lived together before, but she's currently 18 weeks pregnant, so I suggested that she move in with me once her lease was up. It ended at the end of June, so she's been living with me for almost 3 weeks now. While we get along well and overall living together has been great, I've noticed that she started to change things around my apartment. She only brought a few things over since my apartment is fully furnished, so I understand her need to make it feel more like her space. Everything in my apartment is mid-century modern. It's a mid-century modern building, and I bought the apartment because of how much I love that style. Some of the things that she's suggesting or bringing into the apartment absolutely do not go with that vibe. She's taken down some of my artwork and replaced it, cleared off shelves I curated and put her knickknacks on it, went through my pantry and cleared out things she thought were unhealthy, all without asking me. She works from home while I work in the office, so she has a lot more time at the apartment than I do. I just wish she would run things by me first. I'm an architect. She's an editor and doesn't have that same designer eye, which clearly shows. What really bothered me was that she started to throw some things away without asking. I went to take out the trash and saw that some birthday cards I kept were in there. When I asked about it, she said she was just getting rid of clutter, but her stuff is more like clutter and mine has actual sentimental value. I told her to stop touching things in the apartment. And she pointed out that she should have a say because she lives there, which I agree with, but she doesn't run anything by me. Now she's being very avoidant and passive aggressive. So, am I the idiot? Comments before the update. Everyone sucks here. You do realize that when you have a baby, your carefully curated apartment vibe will change very much, right? That said, she shouldn't be throwing your stuff out without asking you. Time to sit down, have an adult conversation and come up with a compromise. Everyone sucks here. I would have said Antia if not for the I told her to stop touching things in the apartment. She has an equal say in what your space looks like and a right to make it feel like home for her. She's tough for making changes without talking to you, and especially for throwing some of your stuff out without your consent. You guys need to have a talk and reach a compromise. Did you go out of your way to make her feel like the home is hers when she moved in? It doesn't necessarily sound like that's the case. Update. We talked about it and agreed to have a decluttering day and to go over some of the things that could be updated, then have a shopping trip together this weekend. I really do want to make her feel more at home in our apartment, so we're going to make it feel less like a bachelor pad and more like a family home. I also opened up to my therapist about all this and now I'm being evaluated for OCD, which was recommended before but I was in denial about it. I thought that how I felt was just because I have never had a roommate before, and I just don't know how to share a space. But it's like one thing that's out of place will be the only thing that I can think about all day, which apparently is not normal. So I'll continue to go to therapy, maybe couples therapy if we really hit a wall, but so far we've both been more open with how we feel and trying to communicate better. I mentioned this in the comments, but I have signed up for parenting classes, both for myself to go to and for my girlfriend and I to go together. A lot of you recommended books, podcasts, and other subreddits. Thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate all the advice and I'm really trying to do better. Not the idiot. This is a great update. I'm so glad you're taking care of your mental health proactively. I was diagnosed with OCD in my teens, but my symptoms were always mild. After I had my daughter at age 30, they became a lot more severe and really interfered with my ability to function. Getting out ahead of this is the best thing you can do, not just for yourself, but for your family. Am I the idiot for calling my cousin untalented in front of our family after she stole my work? So I, 16, female, have recently begun applying for internships and jobs to spice up my resume. I have a strong passion for graphic design and visual effects. In the past, I have designed YouTube banners for many well-known people, edited their videos, and more. All of my work is watermarked with my name unless it's commissioned. My cousin, female 23, who has been very close to me since I was young, has had a lot of trouble finding a job. She is also pursuing the same field. One day my cousin asked to see my portfolio with all my projects. Since we were so close, I didn't give it a second thought and sent her everything. My portfolio contains my best work. Keep in mind that it was watermarked with my name and socials in the bottom left corner. A few weeks went by, and my cousin had not found a job. Every once in a while, she comes and visits us and asks my parents questions, since her parents are out of state, about applying for jobs. She showed them her portfolio, resume, etc. When she let me see it, I was shocked. She had put all of my designs into her portfolio. All she did was cover my watermark with an ugly black bar with her name on top. She asked, beaming, if I thought it was nice. I didn't want to embarrass her and cause a scene, so I just nodded. The following week, our entire extended family visited for dinner. My cousin told everyone that she finally landed a job, a rather well-paying one for a graphic designer. She went on and on talking about how the interviewer mentioned that he was very impressed with her work. I wasn't exactly comfortable through all this, knowing she had stolen my work, but I kept my composure. The issue happened when my family started telling me to be more like my cousin and not laze around. I lost it. I started yelling at my family and cousin about how she had stolen my work, and that all she knew how to do was add a black bar and type her name out. I called her untalented enough that she felt the need to steal from a 16-year-old. My family was shocked. My cousin started crying and yelling that she had no idea what I was talking about. So I pulled up the messages she sent me asking for my portfolio. However, my parents didn't believe me and said that if I was telling the truth, why did I wait so long to say something? Even after explaining the entire situation to everyone, I was not trusted. And now my whole family is against me for causing a scene and making my cousin cry when we were supposed to be celebrating. Comments before the update. You're the idiot. You can't put your pride aside and let your cousin have this win. Grow up and think about someone other than yourself for once. Not the idiot. Find out who hired her and report her for stealing your portfolio. She can take a long walk off a short pier to steal your work and then get a job based on it. Wait till they expect her to produce the same type of work. Update. Thank you for the support in my last post. I know many of you requested an update, and I promised one. A lot has happened the last few days, so let me know if I need to clarify anything. After I wrote my first post, I felt ready to talk to my parents again about what happened, and I showed them proof that my portfolio designs were mine. They apologized to me for blaming me and called my cousin an aunt, uncle, telling her that her actions were wrong. That was all they did. I took the advice that I was given in my last post and emailed my 16 female cousins, 23 female employer. I provided progress photos, videos, layer screenshots, history, etc. To sum it up, they apologized that this happened to me and informed me that my cousin would be fired. I was not invited to fill in her spot or anything of the sort, since I'm looking for an internship rather than a full-time job. This morning, my cousin turned up to mine and my parents' house and started yelling profanities at me and crying. Side note, to my knowledge, my identity should have been concealed when the employer told my cousin she was fired, but I'm guessing she just connected the dots. She told my parents what I had done and they were angry at me. Even though I had proved that the art and designs were mine, they immediately started berating me for going so far as to get her fired. My parents have never exactly been supportive of my graphic design and editing hobbies, but they love taking advantage of it. I have edited videos for my mom in the past, to which she claims I price too high. I charge 15 divided by HR, which is less than minimum wage where I'm from, and put together some things for my dad, who has never really been happy with me picking design for a hobby. He wanted me to do something useful like coding. A massive argument broke out. My aunt and uncle came to the house as well, and I was just crying. My cousin, parents, aunt, uncle were yelling at me for getting my cousin fired. They all knew that the portfolio wasn't hers, but they didn't believe it was justifiable to have her lose a job she worked so hard for. A part of me thinks that they're defending my cousin because she's older and more mature in their eyes. I'm pretty sensitive to arguments, so I didn't want to be around anymore. I called a friend's mom and she picked me up. I have explained the entire situation to her and my friend, and they are letting me stay over for a bit until my mom and dad decide to pick me up. My friend's mom said she would talk to them and explain why my cousin is the only person in the wrong right now. I just hope this blows over quickly and that I can find an internship somewhere. Not the idiot. I am so very, very sorry. You did nothing wrong at any time in this. Art theft is real theft. That's your work. Your cousin wasn't going to be able to do that job and was in way over her head. But more than that, in what world is stealing and lying working hard for a job? I don't know how to get it through to your parents and extended family. Your work was good enough to get your cousin a job, meaning it's valuable. So why is it not valuable when you do it? Why is her stealing something valuable from you not wrong? Why are you stealing an opportunity from her when she actually stole your work from you? Maybe it's as simple as, gee, mom, dad, you brought me up not to lie or steal and to report people who do. Did you not mean it? Good luck finding an internship. I'm sorry this is happening. Please try to let your art, and not this, define you. Not the idiot. Opus, my jaw literally dropped open reading this update. Your blood relations are ridiculous and very wrong. How is your cousin going to actually keep her job when she won it by stealing your talent? Your blood relations think the work she did to rip off your art should be rewarded. I hope you find a safe and supportive place to be. Is she wrong for getting her cousin fired? Let me know in the comments. Am I the idiot for leaving my husband at a family reunion after people made comments about my kids? I, female 46, am very proudly Iranian and Jewish. I married my husband, 47M, who is Iranian American, but he's very Western. He grew up in Dallas and doesn't hold on to a lot of traditions from our culture. However, when we got married, we agreed to teach our kids to be immersed in their culture. We have 3 beautiful kids, Jaden, 15, Ellie, 13, and Brady, 10. Each of them has a Jewish name, as both my husband and I are Jewish and have a name in Farsi. Jaden's names are Yale, Hebrew, and Jael, Farsi after my late aunt. I know this is a random mention, but this is important. About 2 months ago, Jaden came out as non-binary. My husband and I are very accepting and super proud of them for coming out. Jaden was born a girl, so their names are very feminine, especially her Persian name Jael. They asked if I could brainstorm some new names, and I agreed to help them. However, we were unable to find any before we went to see my husband's family. His parents and aunts are very Persian, meaning being part of the LGBTQ community is not really accepted. When we see them, each kid is addressed by their Persian name, so instead of Jaden, Ellie, and Brady they become Jael, Elam, and Baram. We went over to my husband's aunt's house and immediately the kids were greeted by many relatives. One of the aunts begins speaking to Jaden, and they asked if they could be referred to as Jaden and not Jael. The aunt looked confused and asked why, and Jaden explained they were in the process of changing their Persian name. My mother-in-law heard and walked over and began talking to Jaden in rapid Farsi, which they understand fluently as I speak it to all my kids at home. However, my mother-in-law was spewing religious garbage about gender, making my kid feel very uncomfortable. I told Jaden to go find her siblings and I would deal with this privately. I told my mother-in-law how we weren't in the old country and how if Jaden didn't feel comfortable in her birth sex, they were more than willing to identify as something else and feel comfortable in their own skin. I continued on, saying that Jaden will always be accepted by our family and as a grandmother, it is her job to be here to support her grandchildren. Mother-in-law and the aunts went silent before leaving and running to my husband. Thankfully, Jaden got there first, but my husband was drinking and eating and barely listening to Jaden. I was horrified by my husband's blatant disregard for our child's feelings, so I grabbed my 2 other kids and told them to get in the car. We didn't even say goodbye, but I chewed my husband out before slamming the door shut and going home. Now, Jaden and I have been getting non-stop homophobic messages from his family and calls saying I'm the and my husband told me that until I get a grip and apologize to his mom and aunt, he won't be coming home. He says he supports Jaden, but not how he treated his mom and aunt. Am I the idiot? Comments before the update. Not the idiot. Your husband has just chosen his family over your child's mental well-being. This will not change. Something tells me your husband isn't as supportive as he leads you to believe. I'd tell him to stay with the homophobes as he's shown you and your children his true feelings. I hope Jaden can find a Persian name they love. Not the idiot. It sounds like you did everything you could to have a respectful conversation with the mother-in-law in private and they chose to abandon civility. You're also right to be upset with your husband. If he is truly being supportive of Jaden, there would be no way he would expect you to apologize to his family. Given their homophobic comments about your child, I would have nothing to do with them moving forward until they decided to open their minds. Update. My 13-year-old, Ellie, had suggested I speak to a person that visited her school. She was part of the LGBTQ center at a nearby college. I went in for about 2 hours and spoke with some people so I can learn how to be a better parent to Jaden and aid in their transition. I continue speaking to them weekly to help me learn about the LGBTQ community. It's very interesting as well as helpful. I have decided to separate from my husband. After all that happened with his family and the actions he took and didn't take, I decided that he was not going to poison my kids anymore. I am now fighting for full custody to protect my kids. I know divorces can be hard for kids, so my parents and siblings are here often to help provide support for all the kids. My kids will always be my first priority. My husband has begged for me to take him back, but I told him this was the end. Honestly relieved. For those of you who spoke in the comments and were concerned about Jaden, they had a few therapy sessions to help them process, but are doing quite well. My whole family supports them. Wholeheartedly, my mom has a bumper sticker that says my grandchild is part of the LGBTQ community, which Jaden found very funny. Jaden is a very vocal person when it comes to their feelings, and I check in with them every morning and every night. They have been taking this summer to reinvent and find themselves as well as just decompressing from the school year. My husband called Jaden many times not to apologize but to defend himself. I blocked him on their phone and I texted him saying choosing your family over your child who is hurting and may never recover is freaking sick. You will not be seeing Jaden for a long time. Think about what you have done not just to them, but to our family. He's been real quiet ever since. Jaden's phone number has since been switched and they haven't received any other messages since. And one more thing. Some people asked about the name and sent warm wishes hoping Jaden will find a good Persian name. For now, Jaden has been loving June, which is a term of endearment. It's a sweet placeholder that her uncle suggested and they love it. Thank you again. I am doing my best here. Edit. To touch on the divorce, we have been fighting for about a year now about just about everything, but especially how he treats our kids. He won't let my son play with dolls, tells my daughter her tank top is inappropriate because it shows her shoulders, etc. Not the idiot. I'm happy for Jaden, June to have a mother who has their back and is supporting them. You missed one. Her pronoun BTW, but it can be hard to always use third person. I am sorry you are having to go through a divorce, but sometimes they are for the best. Keep all texts and voicemails and emails or social media posts from all kids and yourself. Provide them to your lawyer as evidence to ensure you get primary custody. It's not pretty but necessary. Not the idiot. You are an amazing mom. Past mistakes aside, putting Jaden in the situation with your in-laws wasn't ideal, but I can see how it happened. You are doing what you need to do to protect them now. LGBTQ youth are at high risk for negative mental health outcomes, but one of the biggest protective factors is having support. Even one supportive person reduces risk significantly. Jaden is lucky to have you, and they are lucky that you are protecting them from people who aren't supportive. Let me know in the comments what you think. Am I the idiot for telling my neighbors that I don't care for their living situation? I know the title sounds bad, but hear me out. I recently relocated to Orlando from Miami. I moved to some apartments that most would consider really nice. Not high-end or anything, but definitely nice. Miami was just too expensive, which is the reason for my move. So because I work from home and I have 2 dogs, I wanted to get a 2-bedroom apartment. One that can be an office that I can work from and one for me to sleep. After having my office in the same room I slept in my last home, still lived with my mom, it felt suffocating, like if I never got to escape work. This has been much better for me mentally, and I feel like I'm actually leaving work after I close my laptop. So I've been here about a month and recently saw a family moving in. I'm very introverted, so I didn't introduce myself or anything. The only time I really ever have contact with anyone is when someone is walking their dog at the same time I am and our pups want to say hello to each other. Very quick small talk and then we're on our way. Today as I was going back inside after walking my dogs, I saw the wife and I just gave a friendly smile. Nothing more. I decided I should throw the trash out before I clock in for the day just to get it out of the way. As I was walking back to my apartment, the wife stopped me to introduce herself. I introduced myself as well. She then asked if I lived with a girlfriend or anything. I told her no, it's just me and the pups. She gave me a strange look that I can only describe as annoyed. She asked if my apartment had 2 bedrooms. I told her yes, that there are 2 bedrooms. She asked me why I wanted 2 bedrooms when I live alone and explained to her the office, sleeping thing I mentioned above. Now this is the part where I may be the idiot. She said that it was really inconsiderate and rude to bigger families to take up a 2-bedroom apartment by myself. That her family of 4, husband, wife, 2 kids, have to share a 1-bedroom because people like me decide to steal the 2-bedroom apartments. I said that it sucks that you feel that way, but there's nothing I can do. She said I should trade apartments with her. I thought she was joking, so I just started laughing. Not a nervous laugh or anything, I just genuinely found her suggestion hilarious. I then said that her living situation doesn't concern me, and if she wanted a 2-bedroom apartment she should have looked harder. She said she was going to report me to the building, and I said that she should report me to DeSantis, Florida governor, while she's at it. I went inside and left her there screaming like a crazy person. Am I the idiot? Comments before the update. Not the idiot. I think laughter was the appropriate reaction. Next time, just ignore her and her family completely. Consider getting a doorbell camera because these people are clearly unhinged. Not the idiot. I very much doubt there are no other 2-bed apartments in the place where you live. She should rent one of those. She's being a mooch. Update. So to update you guys, I did not report her. Although she probably deserves it, I decided against it. She's probably some angry mom who more than likely had her back against the wall with everything life has thrown at her. Yes, she was being unreasonable, but I can imagine the stress of a parent is bad. This is not me excusing her but trying to empathize. With that being said, she did piss someone else off. Not sure if for the same reason as me, but I heard her screaming at someone else. I guess the guy she screamed at decided to report her to management. I haven't seen any moving trucks or anything, but I've only seen the husband and the kids leaving the apartment. It looks like life is going on as usual, but to avoid eviction after having just moved in, I can only assume the husband has set some boundaries regarding her yelling at people. Sorry, it's not a juicy update, but it's just a crappy situation for her and her family, and she was probably stressed to a boiling point. Thanks to the guy that did report her, though the rest of the residents living here can at least be at peace without her craziness and entitlement. Not the idiot. It's ironic that her approach to hunting for suitable accommodation for her family might render them homeless. It's a very good idea for her to lay low for a while, and I hope she hasn't ruined their chances to keep their apartment, however inadequate it may be. In any case, you have nothing to feel guilty for. You were on the wait list and you paid your rent. Not the idiot. What she did was awful and not okay at all, but I think if I had to live in a 1-bedroom apartment with all those people, I'd probably lose my mind, too. Hopefully they all survive okay. Sigh. I feel bad for everybody involved. Am I the idiot for calling my boyfriend's sister a witch? My boyfriend, we are both 18, comes from a hockey-obsessed family, and that's saying something considering we live in Canada lol. I don't know poop about hockey except like the Maple Leafs haven't won a playoff in years. Ike lol. I also know the names of good-looking hockey players that sometimes show up on TikTok. My BF doesn't care. He does plan on making me a hockey fan though. Anyways, I was a tiny bit scared to meet his family since his friends made a big deal out of how intense they were as hockey fans, but they were all pretty chill. I did get teased lightheartedly, but they were nice. Except his older sister, 28. She started asking me hockey, trivia, questions that I clearly didn't know the answers to and kept mocking me. She then sort of looked me up and down and said, "You're one of those girls, aren't you?" I asked her what she meant and she said I was a girly girl considering how much I dressed up for a casual family dinner. I asked her why that was an issue. She said it wasn't, and all his GFS have been girly girls, but at least they were pretty. I was really hurt by that. I asked her why she was being so rude and she told me that she was just telling the truth. Apparently my BF is a type and I don't fit that. He also had standards and dated people on his level who, despite their girliness, knew the basics of hockey and were actually pretty. I was confused, hurt and annoyed, and ended up calling her a freaking witch under my breath. Unsurprisingly, she heard it and started yelling at me and said that I better treat her with respect or else. I just said whatever and waited for my BF. He was trying to find something in the basement. I stuck to him the entire night, but his sister kept glaring at me, and before I left she told me that she was just being honest and telling me how incompatible we are. I had no right to call her a witch and she wanted me to apologize. I said no and left, but she found my Insta and sent me pics of his exes to prove her point and said, "Now where's my apology?" I haven't answered yet, but I'm conflicted. I know I'm not his type, but I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I also feel like I don't have to apologize since she was being a massive witch, but I guess she wasn't wrong and was indeed telling the truth. I'm just hurt. Am I the idiot? Edit. My BF isn't aware of anything that's going on, and my friend who told me to post on here just read this and told me that I'm missing a very important piece of information. I'm brown. My BF and his family are white. Comments before the update. Not the idiot. If she was just telling the truth and expecting you to handle it, she can likewise just deal because you were just telling the truth. Not the idiot. What others said, you were sticking up for yourself, and maybe got heated and lost in the moment, but that was really cruel of her. Listen, I think you should really consider breaking up with this guy. This sister could end up being in your life forever. If this is how she treats a stranger, imagine how she treats her friends, family. This is a huge red flag to me. I would tell your BF what's going on, all of it, including their IG stuff, and call it off. You probably don't want to be a part of this mess of a family. I mean, her parents raised him too. Update. But yeah, I don't use Reddit and was a tiny bit overwhelmed seeing the response I got. I also saw my post on TikTok which scared the absolute poop out of me, but that's a story for another day. I got a lot of comments and advice. I firstly want to say thank you for being super kind to me. It was really heartwarming and it gave me a little bit of courage to tell my BF what happened. I eventually told him what happened and showed him the messages his sister had sent me. He just hugged me really tight and told me that if she ever says anything like that to me again, to tell him straight away. He made me block her and then he called her right in front of me and told her to get the frick out of his personal life and stop acting like such a creep. He informed me that his sister is barely in his life because of how she treats him and apologized for not telling me earlier. I was still a little unsure of everything TBH, especially since coming to the realization that his sister's comments were rooted in racism. I asked him what he thought about me being a POC. He told me that it's new to him considering he's been surrounded by white people all his life, but he loves me regardless. He said, "Love guys." I might have fainted. I know a lot of people think I should run, but I don't want to. I think I love him too. Yeah, we're only 18, come from extremely different cultures, and his sister is going to be a somewhat permanent thing. But right now, I think we'll be okay. He doesn't think that way, nor do his other family members. His mom's a sweetheart. If I ever get even the slightest hint that he's actually a terrible racist and just like his sister, then yeah, I'm definitely leaving, but they aren't the same person and I can recognize that. After all, my parents don't even know about our relationship because I'm scared of how they might act. It would be a bit unfair if I dumped him over the actions of his sister. Not the idiot. Dude sounds like a keeper. Don't let his sister sway you from what, by all accounts, is an otherwise great relationship. Asp if he has no meaningful relationship with her. And based on your original post, the rest of his family seemed cool. Really glad it worked out. Good luck to you both. Not the idiot. I'm so glad to hear that your BF immediately supported you when you showed him what you went through. Unfortunately, it sounds like you should be prepared for his sister to repeat this performance if you go to other family events. But at least you will know that your BF will have your back. The two of you should probably decide ahead of time what you want to do for defense ahead of time. Do you think she should dump her boyfriend? Let me know in the comments. Am I the idiot for demanding my fiancé stop teaching our kids bad manners? My fiancé Lola and I have been together for 5 years, engaged for a little over a year, and we have twins, boy and girl, 2.5. Our wedding is in 2 months. Lola usually takes care of feeding the kids in the morning since I work early, and so I never noticed this until recently. I took a week's vacation from work to just spend time at home with my kids and Lola and started to notice something that bothered me. Lola has been teaching our kids bad table manners and sees nothing wrong with it. I hadn't noticed this before, as they don't eat this type of food for lunch, dinner, snacks, or eat it all the time, so I guess I just missed it as I wasn't home or she fed them other things on the weekends. This morning I was helping Lola make breakfast and then I got the kids ready while she brought their food out for them. As they were getting ready to eat, I noticed they didn't have forks, spoons, so I told Lola I would get them and she said there was no need. I watched instead and she gave the kids tortillas that she ripped into pieces and they were using their bare hands to grab the food using the pieces of the tortilla. I asked her what she was doing and that she should be giving them utensils, but she seemed shocked that I was concerned and said that's how they always eat it. I told her that she was teaching them bad manners and making them think it was okay to just grab food with their hands. She told me they do that anyway when they have chips or grapes or tacos and pizza and listed a bunch of other snacks and fast food you eat without utensils. But I pointed out that those things are usually made to be eaten quickly or on the road, like fast food, so utensils aren't needed. She said I was being offensive by calling her way of eating gross and saying it was bad manners, but I do think it's gross to see someone grabbing at food with their bare hands like that. She said she grew up eating like that and would always use tortillas to eat things like eggs or meat, rice, beans, and that it wasn't gross because she always made the kids wash their hands before they ate. I ended up giving my kids forks for them to eat which they didn't want to use, which made me even more frustrated with her because now they're used to this. Lola has been really annoyed the rest of the day and wouldn't let me help her with lunch, and earlier she was walking around the house speaking to someone, probably her sister, in Spanish about me, and I'm starting to feel a bit annoyed. Am I the idiot? Edit. Wow, lots of replies quickly. They seem to be mixed so far, but I will add that the kids can use utensils and use them with foods like soups, pastas divided by etc. I just fear that allowing them to continue using their hands will make them used to it. Comments before the update. You're the idiot. I'm guessing Lola is of Latin American descent. It's very common in that culture to use a tortilla as the utensil just as it is in many other cultures to use bread or something as a utensil. You're being insensitive to her culture. You're the idiot. This is how 2-year-olds eat and you don't need a fork for a tortilla. And using flatbread to scoop up food is de rigueur in almost every culture except Northwestern European culture, which makes you a racist idiot too. Also, the fact that your little ones are 3 and you've just noticed standard mealtime behavior makes YT at times too. Try being an engaged parent. Update. I admit that at first I was annoyed and defensive that everyone was ganging up on me and saying I was racist, an absent parent divided by etc. However, surprisingly enough, it was the comments who were trying to defend me and somewhat agreeing with me that ended up changing my mind. At first I was mainly focusing on the 2-3 comments in my defense, but as I read more of them I started to realize that they were sounding racist, disrespectful, and then I realized the rest of you were right. And that is what I sounded like in my posts. There were a few comments saying something like, "In America that is not normal, but we are not in America," and hearing people say that to me while defending me was shocking to say the least. I don't want to be one of those people who goes around telling people that they need to speak a certain language or do a certain thing because of where they happen to be. I showed my wife the post and she saw a lot of your disrespectful comments agreeing with me, calling her way of eating unhygienic, and she said they sounded like me, which made me realize I was an idiot. For those asking if I had ever seen my wife eat like that, no I hadn't, and I asked her why she never did, even though she said she grew up doing it. She told me how a few months into our relationship I had made a comment about someone in a film being poor and weird for eating food with their hands. I do remember having said this, and it is something that I should not have said. She said that is why she didn't eat like that in front of me, but she thought I wouldn't mind if our kids did, as they are toddlers and toddlers regularly eat with their hands. I am doing a lot of self-reflection and have apologized deeply to my wife. She said she needs some time to think things through after seeing the post and my comments, as well as everyone's comments, which I fully respect. Thanks everyone for your insight. Not the idiot. As an American, I think it is hilarious that being told, "We don't eat like that in America," was one of the tipping points. It's the same kind of bullshit reasoning we have for not switching to metric. I'm glad you came around. I just saw a comment saying you're technically eating poop particles even if you wash your hands. I had to resist rolling my eyes so hard to not end up at the doctor's office. I'm glad this turned out positive and a great learning moment. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for kicking out my BF's cousin and family out of my house? I, male 24, have been in a relationship with my male 24 BFJ for 2 years now, and we're planning on moving into my house next month, but things don't look that way anymore. I'm an orphan. I lost my parents 3 years ago, and my brother Sam, male 20, inherited our parents' house and quite a lot of money. I wouldn't call us rich, but we are definitely comfortable. My parents were hit by a drunk driver, and it took me over a year in therapy to get over it. My brother is still going and things have been getting better, but he still grieves a lot. We both got the house, but he wanted nothing to do with the house and asked me to buy him out of it, and I agreed. The house is now in my name, and we got him an apartment 20 minutes from me, so we are still close to each other. When I met my BF, I opened myself up again and fell in love, and we have a wonderful relationship. The only problem is his cousin Mike, 21 meters. He hates me a lot, and I honestly have no clue why he hated me before I even met him. Jay defends him but tries to at least make him act nice in front of me. 3 days ago I hosted a party at my house. In my house I have a lot of pics of my parents, me, my brother, and all of us together. It makes me feel as though they are still with us and we are still a happy family. At my party my friends, Sam, Jay and his family were invited, and me and my BF were planning to tell everyone that we are planning on moving in together. I was so excited, and Sam seemed to be enjoying himself for the first time in a long time, so I was pretty darn happy. Before we got to tell everyone, Mike looks at my brother and points to a picture of my parents and says, "I'm glad they're not here. The way they raised your brother makes them seem like poop parents." My brother got up, told me what he told him, and left. I was heartbroken. He seemed to be happy for once, and his cousin ruined it. Well, I told Jay to either remove Mike from my home or I would. Jay got defensive and said they were messing around and that my brother needs to be able to joke about stuff like this. I said, "You have 3 minutes to throw him out or I set my timer," and waited it out. My BF didn't seem to think I was serious, and when time was up I told everyone that Mike is no longer welcomed in my house, and if he didn't leave now I would call the cops. His family said if he goes then they go. Here is why I think I might be an but still think my actions were justified. I told them I don't give a frick about you all when you can't even teach that fucker manners, so get TF out. They left and my friends helped me calm down. They said they got that I was mad, but I was out of line. Jay threatened to break up with me and my brother just said to forgive them, but I can't, so am I the off for kicking my BF's family out? Edit. Just wanted to say that his family backed Mike as well, that's why I said what I said. Comments before the update. Not the idiot. And consider that your BF seems to think disrespecting your dead parents is a cool and viable action to do. Not the idiot. Break up with Jay and change the locks on your house if he has a key. He doesn't respect you. Let his family insult you and your dead parents in your home after you graciously hosted them. You deserve better. I'm so sorry for the loss of your parents. Update. I had a long talk with my brother. He says that if I want to forgive Jay then I should do that, and that he will be by my side no matter what. But he won't ever be in the same room as Mike again, and if I ever host a party or anything like that and Mike's there he won't go. Jay and I had a talk today at lunchtime. I took a sick day and just wanted this to be over so I could go on with my life. Jay came to my house and the first thing he said was ready to apologize to Mike, and I told him that if he didn't change his tone and cut the crap that I would throw the door in his face. He looked shocked at my response and came in and sat down so we could talk. I told him that what Mike said is just evil and that I won't have him disrespect my late parents and my brother. I told him that I won't ever be in the same room as him again. Jay stayed quiet, took his phone out, sent a text, and then he started to talk. He basically said that it was meant as a joke and that me and Sam took it way too personal, which made me yell at him and almost. We argued for about 10 minutes more than Mike showed up. I looked at Jay and he told me to just hear him out, being the idiot I apparently am. He said, and I quote, "I'm sorry you and your brother can't take a joke, but can we get past this now?" I told Mike to get out and he left. Jay started to yell, but I just said we are over and told him to get out. He started crying and told me he was sorry. I just took my keys back and threw him out. I'm not even sad, I'm just hurt and angry. But thank you to all of you, your comments helped and I'm grateful. Not the idiot. Wow, you made the right decision. I am so proud of you for standing up for your brother and your beliefs. You are a really good brother. A joke is only considered a joke when the people involved in it find it funny. What Mike said was purely evil and I bet 100% they would have blasted at you if you had said what he said. I think you dodged a bullet here where all these issues came up before you moved in with your now ex. Trust me, there is definitely someone way better out there for you. Please stay strong and safe. Not the idiot. Good on you for standing up for yourself and your brother. It was never a joke. Mike said his true feelings, tried to disguise it as a joke when you called him out on his $ hit, then had the audacity to say you were being too sensitive over your brother being insulted in your own home. Jay wasn't a partner to you. He enabled Mike's crappy behavior and allowed you to be disrespected. He deserved to be tossed out with the rest of the trash. He's only sad because he knows he lost a cushy life. Partners are meant to enhance our lives, not diminish them. Never forget that.